Here we go again, guys. We uncovered state money was sent to a group even after a board member was charged with fraud. It was once a darling nonprofit, all in the name of keeping Somali kids on the right path.
So again, y'all, my theory and the idea of minority groups, that even when you see these red flags, now there are certain officials who feel like it would be easier to and more politically convenient to allow the people of those groups to continue with the stealing.
He's got a huge coalition of Jewish voters that are supporting him. He's got a huge coalition of Muslims of every sect. He's got a huge coalition of young people who are supporting him.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, you know that we've done a number of Minnesota fraud stories. And sadly, there's a totally new fraud that has been reported in the state of Minnesota. And this time it has to do with Somali youth centers or something like that. You're about to see that. About keeping the Somali youth off the streets, y'all. Millions and millions and millions of dollars defrauded from the state in the name of helping Somali youths. And it's quite sad. And so we're going to take a look at that. And also we're going to take a look at your boy, Omar Fateh. Y'all, just in a few days. Today, this is Halloween. So if you're watching this later, I recorded this on the 31st of October, just next Tuesday. So about 4 days from now, we're going to see if he is successful in becoming the mayor of Minneapolis, where a lot of this fraud is happening. Much of it, $1 billion of fraud practically is happening. And what's interesting is he is coming under some fire as well, because it seems like he's putting the Somaliland, the country of Somalia, it seems like he's confused as to where his allegiance lies, y'all. Now, I will say this. A lot of people they think that Fateh was born in Somalia, but he wasn't. He was born in the United States. So we're going to see some clips of him referring to Somalia as if it were his home. I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm not from that culture. I don't know how you determine home, but a lot of people are very upset that an American, a person running for a pretty significant office, is referring to another country as home. And y'all, at the end of this video, for those of you who don't know, he has quite the checkered past. He has quite the checkered past. So I'm gonna pop that onto the end so you can see all of the allegations that we have reported on regarding Fateh. But also we're gonna take a look at your girl. I mean, look, we're talking about Minneapolis. We're talking about the Somali community. By the way, y'all, we're not signaling them out. This is what the news report is about. You're going to see that. The news report says it, so I'm saying it, right? We're going to take a look at your girl, Ilhan Omar, because she's also making news today. You know, she's always saying something crazy. So we'll take a look at that as well, y'all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pop into it. But before we do, y'all, we have a new webpage for my people out there who are like, yo, I have money, but I don't want to give it away to the people who are trying to take it. How can I protect my retirement? Y'all, gold. How many times do I have to tell you? Gold has been man's longest monetary best friend for 5,000 years. I mean, what else are you looking for? Go to our webpage. Go to the new webpage, Paralegold. PARALEGOLD.com. Get the information on how to protect your retirement. And you can call 844-651-8334 and speak to our partners at Augusta Precious Metals. Now let's go ahead and hop into this content.
5 Investigates has uncovered yet another example critics say shows a lack of oversight of your tax dollars.
This one centers around a well-known Somali nonprofit. The state has awarded millions of dollars in grants. When investigative reporter Ryan Ray started tracking your money, he made an interesting discovery.
Here we go again, guys. We uncovered state money was sent to a group even after a board member was charged with fraud. And the Department of Human Services still did not stop the flow of your hard-earned money. It was once a darling nonprofit. winning awards and making headlines, all in the name of keeping Somali kids on the right path.
My name is Mohammed, Executive Director of Kajog.
But this summer, Kajog's online presence vanished. I could not find them anywhere. Their office at the Griggs Midway building in St. Paul?
It's dark, so.
It's a similar story at their second office a mile away, which comes with its own doorbell.
So I just talked to a guy here who says Kajug does have an office here, but he's only seen them once or twice this year.
Other addresses listed on their website,
Do you know what happened to him?
all appear to be dead ends. But then I found this criminal complaint from 2023, and it all starts to make sense. It was one of the biggest Medicaid fraud cases at the time. A group of men accused of stealing more than $9 million from the state's personal care assistance program. Among the defendants, Ali Elmi, the chair of the board at Kajog.
Now, as you're about to see here, y'all, not only were they able to defraud the state of Minnesota out of $9 million, this is in addition to all the other hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that Minnesota gave away essentially to people who were claiming fraudulent services. I really think that one of the reasons, and you're going to see Minnesota kept sending the money even after they knew these people were defrauding them. Same with Feeding Our Future, y'all. I think that there is not the political will to look like you're going after a minority community, even when people in that community are committing massive fraud.
In this case, the state attorney general is the one who charged Kajog's chair, and DHS now admits it kept sending them money. In a statement, the agency promised it will put stronger internal controls in place.
I think we must do better.
DHS Inspector General James Clark addressed what we uncovered in a recent interview with our Eric Shalou.
I mean, a lot of the work, a lot of the communication we're currently doing now is manual, right? So I would say we need to do better in terms of breaking down silos of communication.
Okay, so there you see the officials saying, yo, we need to do better, right? We need to do better. Of course you do. Of course you do. But do you think that as of the date of this report, which was just yesterday or the day before, had they corrected this problem? Had they gone into the system and taken this organization out?
At last check, the Secretary of State shows Kajog is still active and in good standing. We found they have raked in nearly $3 million in public money since 2020, despite these repeated warnings from the Attorney General over incomplete financial documents.
So again, y'all, my theory, frankly, is that the idea of diversity and the idea of minority groups and the idea of people who are disadvantaged has permeated so far that even when you see these red flags, now there are certain officials who feel like it would be easier to and more politically convenient to allow the people of those groups to continue with the stealing rather than to shut down programs. And I mean, look what happened with Feeding Our Future. They shut that down and the people rose up so that the fraud could continue. And a judge ruled that they had to let the fraud continue. Okay, judge apparently didn't know it was a fraud, but it was. And the judge said, yo, you got to keep. So I think that is what's happening. Now take a look on your screen. Your boy, Omar Fateh, he's one of the members of the Somali community. Mind you, he was born in the United States. So he's going to call Somalia his home, even though he wasn't born there. So again, I'm not Somali. I don't know how that community decides where home is and all that sort of thing. That's more of a cultural thing. So I'm not saying he can't say that. Frankly, I don't know. But he's running to be a mayor of a major United States city, y'all.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Somalia. Somalia. Hiran State. Mawisle. Early voting was hadda illa November 4. I need your vote. I need you. Hadan Udkina, hello. We're gonna win. We should make dua for him and pray for him. I understand that our Somali communities are all connected to each other here in Minnesota and back home, and I ask for your support. There's always been a link between our community here as well as back home, and I'm running to bridge that gap and unite all of us and represent all of us, because when we succeed here, we can succeed everywhere. And I'm hoping to do that just like Abdrazak, inshallah.
Now, I've already told you in a previous video that Fateh, he has been endorsed by your girl, Ilhan Omar. I mean, is there any surprise? There's really no surprise. And y'all, they want to bring a different type of government to the United States than what we're used to. And the same goes for Mamdani, y'all, okay? They want to bring a socialistic type of government. I personally am opposed to that. That's why I'm talking about them. I don't like it. Again, should we have social programs? Yes. I think we have enough. Wherever we are now, we have enough. Let's just make sure that those are working properly. Let's make sure people aren't stealing all of the money out of those before we start talking about additional social programs. We can see people are already stealing all the money out of the programs that we already have. Fraud and waste, fraud and abuse. Anyway, y'all already know.
Well, I'm excited to announce that I will be supporting Senator Fateh for the mayor of the city of Minneapolis.
Our Congresswoman, who I'm really excited to have her support.
And with that, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar put her stamp of approval on a grateful State Senator Omar Fateh.
So Omar just yesterday went on to CNN or one of those news stations, and she's trying to whip up support for Mamdani. Y'all, come on.
He says Democrats don't have the leaders they need to meet the moment. Is he right?
We have leaders. The problem is the leaders on the Republican side are refusing to meet with our leaders. You cannot have a government that functions without there being leaders having a conversation. That is where the core of the problem is.
So, speaking of leaders in New York City, I do want to turn and ask you about the mayor's race there. You, of course, very much a progressive leader here in Washington, and there's been a lot of conversations about Zohran Mamdani and his role as a leader in the progressive movement. Now, Hakeem Jeffries, your leader, has somewhat reluctantly, but has endorsed Zohran Mamdani. Chuck Schumer still has not. Why do you think Chuck Schumer has not endorsed Zohran Mamdani?
I really don't know. It makes no sense. We as Democrats have always believed that in an election, we support our party's nominee. Schumer has pressured other Democrats to do just that, and he should be following his own advice.
Do you think religion plays a role at all?
Well, the tsunami of the anti-Muslim attacks that we are seeing is deeply concerning. And I would hope that the Democratic leader in the Senate would recognize that and would offer support, not just to Mamdani, but the million Muslims who live in New York City and the millions who live in New York and in America.
What do you say to people who believe that Zohran Mamdani's the pace at which he discussed condemning the phrase globalize the intifada was not fast enough, that it was anti-Semitic, the pace at which he did that?
Well, everything he does or says seems to be called anti-Semitic. What I do know is that he has support from a broad coalition of New Yorkers. He's got a huge coalition of Jewish voters that are supporting him. He's got a huge coalition of Muslims of every sect. He's got a huge coalition of young people who are supporting him. And the reason they are supporting him is not just because he's an exciting candidate to support. It's because he took the time to listen where the policy pains were for New Yorkers, and he's offering a solution for them. They see hope in the kind of progress that he could create for New Yorkers.
So y'all, if we have special groups that have lax oversight because we are afraid that if we call out what they're doing, people are gonna say, oh, that's racist. You know what I'm saying? That's not right, y'all. That's not right. And that's exactly what I think is happening here. I think that because it was the Somalis who were doing this fraud, the powers that be said, you know what? If we go after them, they're gonna say you're coming after us because we're Somali. So they just let them steal. That's what I think. Okay. And because this United States, don't tell me that we don't know. Come on. We're sophisticated enough to know when $1 billion is getting stolen, y'all. Okay. Anyway, y'all, the backstory on Omar Fateh, I'm about to run into that. There are numerous other red flags with Omar Fate in his backstory. I'm about to show those to you right now. Let's get into it. Now here on this X account, they point to a Star Tribune article on Omar Fate, okay? Now here are some details on Fate, on his past. It says, now after he tried to win elected office in Virginia and in Minnesota, it says 2 years later, he challenged veteran DFL Senator Jeff Hayden. Running as a self-identified Democratic Socialist, Fate won the DFL Senate District endorsement during a virtual convention that May. Hayden questioned the validity of the results, saying his campaign was unable to verify the addresses of nearly half of the delegates. A credentials committee declined to remove the delegates, and Fate went on to win the primary in the heavily Democratic district that August. Yet questions about the election would continue to follow Fate after he took his seat, especially after the FBI began looking into allegations of voter fraud. The federal investigation focused on the misuse of the absentee ballot agent delivery process, in which elderly or ill voters could have a friend, family member, or someone else they designate deliver their ballot to an election office, but in the end, only one person was charged. Now, who was this person? This person was Muse Muhammad, okay? He had volunteered for Fate's 2020 campaign. After he was convicted of perjury, Fate disclosed that Muhammad was his brother-in-law, y'all. Fate had previously told DFL leadership he had no relationship with the man, y'all. Can you make this up? Now, y'all, this was back in 2020 and 2021 time frame, okay? So that was back in 2020 and 2021 time frame. Now, during the most recent election that Fate is involved in, which is for the mayor of Minneapolis, there were more irregularities. Go figure. More irregularities. He had actually won an endorsement, and wouldn't you know it, they rescinded his endorsement. The DFL, the Democratic Party of Minneapolis, they were forced to rescind his endorsement due to the current irregularities.
Just hours ago, the DFL revoked its endorsement of State Senator Omar Fateh. The party called the voting process flawed.
Mayor Fry's campaign went a step further, calling it brazen cheating. Fox 9's Mike Manzoni joins us now. And Mike, the DFL is putting the Minneapolis chapter of the DFL on probation over this.
And it is also barring the Minneapolis DFL from conducting another endorsing convention this year. This all started last month when the party met at Target Center to endorse a mayoral candidate. Fateh won the endorsement over 4 others, including Fry. Now, at the time, Fry's campaign called the convention extremely flawed and irregular. Those are quotes. The DFL found the convention undercounted by 176 votes and erroneously dropped Dwayne Davis after the first ballot. He's one of the candidates. The party also says organizers lost the delegate credentials book for an entire ward and did not properly secure the check-in sheet.
So before we finish with Fate, y'all, don't forget how he helped to pass legislation that would directly benefit his wife's business. Emergency, urgent legislation, y'all.
Right up front, I want to be clear. We found no evidence of billing fraud here. However, we did discover something raising what a legal expert labels serious ethical concerns. Senator Omar Fateh's wife was a listed owner of a housing stabilization company, even as the senator and current Minneapolis mayoral candidate himself was pushing legislation to fast-track client approvals for the taxpayer-funded program.
Senator Fateh, Senate File 2741.
A bill that will address a critical delay in access to housing stabilization services, also known as HSS.
It's March 24th, 2025, and Senator Omar Fateh is the sole author of a bill he says will speed up access for people to be approved for HSS, a Medicaid-funded program to help the elderly and disabled find and maintain housing.
HSS is a lifeline.
A lifeline, moving too slow, the senator says, because at DHS, there was a months-long enrollment backlog as the agency was overwhelmed by the number of people being signed up.
Delays that are putting people at risk of eviction, extended homelessness, and service lapses.
So y'all, again, my thing is this. I'm all for helping people, but there's just too much fraud in our current system. We don't need any new systems until we prove as a country, as localities, as states, that we can actually run the systems that we have now, that we can run them well. They're not running well. Forget the Mamdani, forget the Omar Fateh. Hey, let's give people more. You aren't giving people more. You're giving fraudsters more opportunity to steal. That's the way I see it. Pause all new social assistance programs until we can run the current programs with a high level of fidelity, with a high level of effectiveness for 5-10 years. Okay, then we can look and say, okay, what new do we want to do, if at that time we even need to do anything new. Let me know what y'all think. Drop a comment down below. You with me? You against me? You agree with me? You disagree? Let me know, y'all. But before you do, please stop, y'all. Hit the share button. Share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all your favorite social mediums. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. I want to thank y'all for watching. Love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next one.